Hello, good afternoon. This is Kenny Rockman, author and founder of the Child Support Hustle and the Reform Child Support Now movement. I hope everybody is doing just fine on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Um, I'm doing pretty good, thank you. So I've talked about welfare not being a loan; it's a grant throughout my advocacy. Which is how I became active in child support reform, and how I started talking about this subject so deeply because it is directly related to my case. So I wanted to talk about it again because there was an article written, and this is a really good article, and I put the link in the description. It's by Eli Hager, Hager, and it's published under ProPublica. Um, and it's titled "These Single Moms Are Forced to Choose, Reveal Their Sexual Histories, or Forfeit Welfare." That's the title of the article. And I mean, it's detailed. It's hi Steph. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, guys, and thanks for the like. Um, so I'm not going to like analyze the article like I'll say, well, this and this and that. I just wanted to talk specifically about welfare not being a loan, because a lot of feedback that I'm seeing in reference to this article is that, oh, well, why shouldn't welfare be paid back? Why shouldn't fathers pay back welfare, and that little snappy stuff, and it's not free money and all this kind of stuff. Well, we know that, but the thing about it is that thank you. The thing about it is that welfare is a grant. It's a block grant. That's when they changed the welfare system from aid to dependent children to temporary aid for needy families. I hope I got that correct. They changed how that money was distributed, and they also changed what requirements were needed for people to receive that money, for custodial parents or mothers to receive that money, and they also changed how that money was distributed. That's key in how it was distributed. One of the requirements were that parents had to work for that money. They weren't just able to just receive it just because, going down there and saying I need it. You had to work for it. So that means that it's not free money, because if you were receiving a TANF benefit, you were working for it one way or the other. They were getting some labor out of you. So it wasn't free money in that sense. The second part is that there were time limits on this money, that these grants. I talk about this all the time, because this is the teeth, if you will, the backbone of the child support system. You were only allowed to be on there for X amount of time. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna block this person. I think I'm doing it right. Let's see if I can block them. Okay, so you had up to 5 years. Some states it's 2 years. So but and the biggest part is that you had to cooperate with child support. You had to sue the other parent, because the state was going to come in and provide these very limited benefits. So you had to go in and sue the other parent. So never in the contract, or never in anything that went down was it a thing about repaying the benefits, not for the custodial parent. So they went after the non-custodial parent. But even in that, it still wasn't a loan. It was still a grant. So they had what they call a common law theory. I put the link, I wrote about this in the description. So they're basically saying that the non-custodial parent abandoned the child or the children, and that the state had to step in as a third party to provide benefits, to provide cash or whatever for that child so they can come back and sue them. So there's no contract to say, oh, we loaned you this money, because if that was the case, they would be able to go after the custodial parent. It would be a loan in that sense. And that's not what happens. And for those that say, well, we have to pay for it. We have to pay for it. Well, we're paying for it anyway. And for example, and this article was largely talking about New Mexico. So I went and looked at the New Mexico TANF block grant for 2019, and I got this information from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. They're very good on putting up statistics, numbers, and stuff, especially when it comes to spending and things like that. So in 2019, New Mexico spent about $232 million in federal and state funds under the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program. It only spent 20% of these funds on basic assistance, which is generally a cash assistance to TANF families. So basic assistance, only 20%. Work activities, only 7%. The national average was 10%. Work supports and supportive services, 3%. So it's about $8 million. Child care, about 14%. Tax credits, about 20%. Child welfare, 0. So, and then the states, when they passed this, the states didn't necessarily have to spend this money, our tax dollars that are supposed to provide safety net programs for families that were going through a rough time. They didn't even have to spend the money on safety net programs. They could spend it on whatever they wanted to. And then they could pocket the money and put it up for a rainy day. So since unspent block grants can be carried over for future years, a state may spend more or less than the annual block grant allocation in any given year. So as of 2019, New Mexico had accumulated $94 million in unspent TANF block grant funds. That was equal to 86% of its block grant. So if you're defending the government, saying, well, they need to pay it back or somebody needs to pay it back, then you need to go after the government and ask how come the money that we're paying is not being spent on what we're told is supposed to be spent on. So they can go and spend them, like I said, on anything. They can keep it for a rainy day. They can keep it for whatever. And I'm just using New Mexico because that's who they're talking about mostly in this article. But if you go to other states, they have a big cushion of money, like hundreds of millions of dollars sitting there that's not being spent on the children, on the families or anything, but they're calling it welfare. And then they go after the father or the non-custodial parent and want them to repay a grant that's not a grant. And I don't care how you put it, how you word it, however you say it. It's not a loan. These fathers, these parents are not signing a contract saying, oh, okay, if you pay $250 a month in welfare money or a TANF check, I agree to pay you back with 9% interest. And I'll pay you the arrears back for 10 years or since the birth of my child, even though I didn't find out about this child until last month. There's a huge difference in that. So, and then we go to the people that justify the system. And they say, you know, well, we're going to pay this money back and it's going to the government. Of course, it's not a loan. But then you look at, if this is child support and it's supposed to benefit the children, then why would they keep this money anyway? We're talking about vulnerable children, vulnerable families, vulnerable parents. In 2020, this is according to this article, more than 1.7 billion in child support collected was seized by the federal government to repay welfare. So that's money that will never go to the children. How is that child support? And that's why I started the petition in hopes in that the Biden administration, while they're erasing student loan debts, which are clearly contracts, that they also erase this government owed child support debt that's going back for money to repay money that's not a loan that has already been paid for. And I'm sure if they told people, hey, you have to repay this money to a custodial parent, you have to pay this back, this is a loan, things will be a lot different. Because they already say you have to work for it. And trust me, you have to work if you get a check. I'm sure that hasn't changed. So for people saying, well, you just can't sit at home and collect this money and all that, you can't. They're not going to let you. And then another thing with the time constraints, the time limits, after that 2 years, 24 months, or that 24 months is up, and you still have signed your rights away to child support, you can't go back, or you have to fight real hard. Trust me, you have to fight hard. And it takes a long time to go back and say, I want my rights back. It took me 8 years. I don't want this anymore. It took me 8 years to get my rights back. So this article again states that federal and state governments pocketed roughly $684 million more in child support from these fathers in 2020 than in 2019. $684 million, which experts say is mostly attributed to the dad's stimulus checks being intercepted. Remember, I did a video where I said they were bragging. Down here, Paxton was bragging. All these child support agencies, oh wow, we did such a fabulous job, we collected all of this money, we did record collections. And I said, no shit, if y'all sitting up here robbing these parents, intercepting the stimulus money that's supposed to be used to stimulate the economy and help people that are not working because we're under a worldwide global pandemic, then of course your collections are going to go up. And there's nothing anybody could do because y'all have the control. It's the government paying you, and who's going to take it? The interception is coming from the government. That's not hard to do. That does not deserve a pat on the back. There are no congratulations that are supposed to come from that. And then you keep it. None of that money went to the women and children. That was from the article. I'm not going to say quote all the time because, like I said, I didn't do notes on this. I'm just going and like skimming through because I can talk about this stuff all day long. I've been talking about it forever. So they go on. I thought one of the most interesting things about this article was the headline. Mothers are forced to reveal their sexual histories or forfeit welfare. So again, they go to the mother. They're totally disregarding the fathers or them being humiliated, which is the next part, how the mothers that go in and apply for welfare have described the experience, this is a quote, as humiliating and sometimes terrifying to be questioned about their sexual histories by agents of the state in small interview rooms just to obtain a basic form of government help. Why is that even taking place? And then what about when the father receives all this paperwork or the caseworker calling them, threatening them, if you don't do this or you don't do that, just the beginning stages. We're going to put a warrant out for your arrest. And yes, they do it. They can deny that they do this, but they do it. Start sending threatening letters to your house. And these fathers haven't done it. Some of these guys are just men being named on the child support order. They don't know what's going on. They just know that, oh my gosh, they're threatening me. They don't know about a baby. It could be 10 years down the line, all of a sudden child support at their door, writing them, contacting their job, contacting their, just all this kind of stuff out the blue. So yeah, it might be humiliating for women, but it's also humiliating for fathers. I'm surprised not one, I don't think I saw anything, of course, about, the fathers getting their money taken, but there's a lot of other humiliating parts and rights being violated that go on with men and fathers in this child support system too, and especially. So they say in this article, the practice of confiscating child support payments from the poor persists in part because some policymakers believe that welfare should be considered a loan to be repaid by the patriarch of the family. Why wouldn't you give them a chance? 9 times out of 10, and this has been written about, proven, this is not me just saying off the top of the head, most child support debt is owed by a low-income father or poor father or poor. The women, the mothers are low income, and 9 times out of 10, so is the father. So you're just going to make somebody repay a fake loan for a benefit, and you know they can't afford it. And then you're going to tack on interest, and then you're going to go retroactive and make them pay back from the birth of the child. Like, come on. Just because you can. At this point, it's just because you can. Because this is clearly not a loan. I'm going to say that over and over again because, and the reason why it has to be emphasized so much is because people really put it in their head, because you know, you tell a lie so many times and long enough, people start believing that lie. So they'll sit and convince people that this money is a loan. Oh, welfare is a loan. Welfare is a loan. So people start even arguing that, and it's not. I won't even discuss it. I said, what you're talking about is irrelevant because welfare grants are grants. They're not loans, period. There's nothing else to discuss. Just like they say debtor prisons don't exist, and you show them straight up. They're right there. So what are you talking about? So, like I said, I wanted this to be short, just so I can re-emphasize, reiterate, and say it again and again, and I'll continue to say it. Maybe when other people say it, it'll register some more, or people, pay attention some more. Welfare is not a loan. It is a grant. If they try to sue you to repay welfare benefits, you tell them, I'm not agreeing to repay anything. I didn't sign up for the benefits. I didn't receive any of the benefits, and I'm not paying you back for something that is not a loan. My name is not on this. So just because you say it's a loan doesn't mean it's a loan. Can't make sense out of bullshit. Y'all know that. Right, John. I don't know who this is. I'm going to find out who somebody is. Well, I got to get a lot of trolls, but I got a troll on here, and I don't know how to block them like from when I go live. So if anybody knows how to block a troll on YouTube, and they're racist. So I usually, some stuff. I don't like being called racist names. Like I don't get into that shit. So if you know how to block somebody so they can't get notifications and come on your in your chats, please let me know. Okay, so that's it. I just wanted to come on here and say that again because I guess it needs to be said again. And definitely watch what's going on with these child tax credits and how they're arguing the fact they want it permanent. And so now we have some legislators on both sides of the aisle saying that they want parents to work. Now, remember, the child tax credits were introduced because of COVID, and they want to put money directly in parents' pockets. Now they're saying, and that's not saying that parents weren't working. This is supposed to be an advance on income tax refunds. So most parents are working to get their tax refunds. So now they're starting to put in the word work, 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 that people need to work. You can't sit home. So they're tying it to welfare. And remember when I talked about this TANF block grant, tax credits are one of those that are listed in the spending category. So watch them so they don't slip in cooperating with child support in order to qualify for these tax credits, these child tax credits that they're trying to make permanent. Because remember, Rubio said that these tax credits are going to ruin the child support system as we know it. I did a video about that. And what he's talking about is that by passing out these tax credits without a work requirement, parents are not forced to participate or mandated to sue for child support. They won't have to go to child support. But if they implement that into the tax credit requirement to make that permanent, they're just passing that mandate from one program, welfare or TANF, into another program, which is these permanent tax credits. And if they start asking, you know, what do y'all think about this? And they slip that in, we don't want that. We're trying to get it out of the welfare program. Parents should not be mandated to sue for child support in order to get a grant to help them out when they're struggling. So thank you all so much for joining me. I put it on there because now I can get, what do you call these? When you can show your support and you can give a cash donation. I forget. Oh, cash chats. I forget what they're called. And I don't have it up here. But you can always do that to show your support. If you like the information, if it's helped you out, gifts are always accepted. Donations, I appreciate it. You can contact me if you have a question. I'll try to point you in the right direction. It is cshustle1@gmail.com. I put my link tree in there, so that has all my social media outlets. If you want to go in my website, if you want to buy a book, thechildsupporthustle.com. A t-shirt to show your support. The Child Support Hustle, have them in black and gray. Yeah, if you want to make a donation, my Cash App is $TCSH and the number 1. If you're here, give me a like button. If you haven't signed the petition to erase child support debt that's government owed, the link is in the description. If you want to read any articles, I have several. You can go to thechildsupporthustle.com. If you have a question about something, I've probably already either did a video about it or I've written about it. So, yeah. You're welcome, Rod. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to try to make videos more often when I see stuff so we can all be in the loop, because it's about to go down. Like, there's a lot of moving parts going on. So I want everybody to be informed so they don't try to slip any, like they slipped this child support reform when they did welfare reform back in the 90s and we wasn't aware. I want everything that goes on, I want us to be aware of it, because as you can see, it affects every part of life. So thank you guys. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Take care. Remember, they can ignore hundreds, they can ignore thousands, but they cannot ignore millions. Let's go.